ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa has likened the governing party's detractors with snakes and political forces that want to undermine the gains of freedom made over the last 30 years. He was speaking during the presentation of the ANC's January 8 statement celebrations, its 112th anniversary. In the last 3 decades, some ANC leaders who left or were expelled from the party formed their own parties. They included, among others, Mosiuoa Lekota, Magashule, Niehaus, and now former ANC President Jacob Zuma, who has joined the MK party. Now let's get analysis on these and other issues. Political analyst Dr. Ebrahim Harvey joins us now. Dr. Harvey, always a pleasure to have you on the show. Good afternoon to you. So the ANC president did not mince his words and in fact was resolute in the party's stance that those that believe they will destroy the ANC in the upcoming elections and those that the party will not achieve an outright win at the polls are underestimating the ANC. Even though the president didn't mention names, much of his utterances were seemingly leveled at the ANC's former president, Jacob Zuma. How would you analyze Ramaphosa's utterances?
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks, and good afternoon to your viewers. No, it would take quite a long time. I don't think I will have enough time to go into a complete, full response to your question. But there's no doubt, that I think the ANC has become increasingly concerned with two things. Not only the MK party that Zuma has formed, but EFF. There's two things. More than the DA, I believe the ANC is concerned with what impact the EFF is going to have, and now with this MK party. I don't think Ramaphosa spoke too much about that deliberately because I don't think he wants to get into it. But in the background, I can assure you, the ANC leadership are having sleepless nights around the MK party and the likely impact. You can see how tremendous significance and traction this party has quickly gained, and not only in KZN. I am certain, that there's going to be a formidable impact that this party is going to have in the polls, if not nationally, certainly in KZN. You're going to have a split vote in KZN in particular, elsewhere too maybe, between MK supporters now who've come out and traditional ANC supporters who feel, you must remember when you posed that question to me, the ANC is going through the worst crisis ever. The country is going through the worst crisis and it is the ruling party. It has to answer for this crisis. And that is precisely why you have, a whole lot of different analysts saying critical things about the state of, the January 8th statement that Ramaphosa delivered yesterday. But there must be little or no doubt that, they marginalize Zuma. There's no doubt there's legitimate. In fact, why do you think Zuma is not resigning as MP? She's not interested. Have you seen her being interviewed earlier on SABC? Have you seen her being disgruntled about the General Secretary of the ANC, Magashule, was suspended and then expelled? Have you seen her talk about the contradictions of the step-aside rule while others are allowed to continue? Others in a different faction are targeted. She's been unhappy, and I can tell you now, in particularly the Pala scandal, particularly that.
Yeah, and I'd like us to touch a little bit about her retirement a little bit later on, but I want to just continue this on the ANC president's speech. I mean, he did announce, that the party's manifesto will be launched next month, but some analysts believe that even though, this felt like a different January 8 statements to the previous ones that he's had, his speech did not quite outline the party's plans ahead, given that this is a crucial election year. I mean, what did he miss?
No. Well, they deliberately did not. You know what they did last year? They tied up the January 8 statement with the manifesto, the electoral manifesto. They decided this year to separate it. And I think it is precisely because The ANC felt because of what is happening in the country, the townships have been ablaze for 20 years since June 2004, an unstoppable avalanche of township protests. And you can see the contradiction and the hypocrisy of Ramaphosa when singing the praises of the ANC, when in fact, for 20 years, we've had an unstoppable township protest. But they are not too certain. They needed more time for the election manifesto, so they played into their hands, and I think they deliberately decided to separate the January 8th statement from so that it gives them more time to flesh out that election manifesto, which is of critical importance. I'll tell you why. This is the most defining moment in post-apartheid South Africa, the most important national elections ever held. And why? Because the ANC is falling apart, as is the country. And you can see, let me tell you, sleepless nights, MK party and Zuma throwing in his weight. And I tell you now, Dlamini Zuma, I have little doubt you're going to see it in the next few days or a week or two. She's going to throw a lot, I suspect, strongly with the MK party, which will, I think, boost, significantly the electoral prospects of the MK party. Next to the expulsion of Malema, which was really the unwisest thing that the ANC ever took. And look how it's come back to bite them. Motlanthe was the only ANC leader who completely opposed the expulsion of Malema. And look what has come to. And in fact, as I said this morning on Channel Africa, E-News, that the Ramaphosa presided over the expulsion of Malema. It's important to notice that. But I think that it's quite deliberate to separate the election manifesto because they needed more time to flesh out this thing because of its critical importance. Whether that election manifesto is going to address the reason why for 2 decades we've had an unstoppable avalanche of black township protests. It reminded me of what Mandela said. Do you know what he said? Although they're now questioning the veracity of it, and some are saying he did say so, and others are denying. Mandela said, if the ANC government does to you what the Nationalist Party did, you must do to the ANC government what you did to the Nationalist Party. Yeah. And it seems like the protesters for 2 decades, from 2004 June in Free State, had listened to Mandela. You can see we've never had such fierce protests. I can tell you, even during the darkest days of apartheid. So the ANC's got a big headache, and I think they needed more time to flesh out this election manifesto.
Dr. Harvey, I want to get to 2 other points, but I want to just stand with the point that you've just made about Julius Malema now. Outside of the MK party being a threat to the ANC, you've always maintained that the EFF, in fact, is, the actual threat to the ANC. I mean, just yesterday we saw that, on the one part, the ANC was celebrating his 112th anniversary. On the other part, the EFF was signing new members over 2,000 in the same province, in Mpumalanga, believed to be former ANC members. What do you make of this?
Oh, big things. Let me tell you, if you ask me, and it's reflected in my News 24 columns consistently over the past few months, if there's one party, believe me, that you must look out for, in fact, I think they will surpass by far, for many reasons, the MK party's best performance, and that is the EFF. You have to look at the people who have thrown their lot in, Carl Niehaus, Jimmy Mani, and look at what has been said now with this new party that the expelled General Secretary, Magashule, said. They're having rapprochement talks right now with the MK party. So you can see there are lots of factors and forces and factions who are fed up with the mainstream ANC and Ramaphosa in particular, and they're going to go all out. I really think the very toughest election, before the ANC strode the electoral stage like a colossus, you couldn't touch them for the first 2 elections, and subsequently from 2004, you trace the decline steadily. up until then 57% in 2019. I am convinced more than ever before, as I said, and it's not because I necessarily wish the ANC ill luck and that they lose, but I absolutely think for objective reasons and rooted particularly in the Black African township, the crisis going on there, load shedding, etc., that the ANC is going to lose support and going to drop below 50% in 2024.
You've reacted already to the, retirement of Dr. Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma as an MP of the ANC. Can we expect any more retirements?
Well, it's difficult to say, but I can tell you it's a very vulnerable moment for the ANC. The ANC has never been as weak and vulnerable as it is at the moment. I mean, it is... and that's why you must look at the mushrooming of opposition parties. They say now 500 to 600 registered. You must see it in inverse proportion to the absolutely incredible downfall, the decline of the ANC at the polls. I mean, you can imagine the ANC, don't forget, and it has been a big factor in how I approach the prospects of the ANC next year's election. They lost the powerhouse of production and nerve center of the economy, Gauteng, 2016, 2021 again. I mean, big time. This is Johannesburg, Tshwane, Ekurhuleni. So that was 2021. It is definitely, the country is much worse off. The black townships are aflame, much worse off than they were in 2021. Now take your key from there about what is likely to happen next year. I am certain, for a number of reasons, some of which I've explained, the ANC is going to most probably lose, and I'll tell you something, they deserve to lose the 2024 elections. And before I end, let me remind you what Kgalema Motlanthe told Hard Talk in 2016 and just before the 2016 local government elections. He told British media, Hard Talk, that perhaps the only thing that's going to wake up this ANC is if they lose power. That is what Kgalema Motlanthe told Hard Talk in 2016, and he was cursed by the ANC in the country. I heard lots of people, including Ramaphosa, cursing what he had to say. This is him. He said to 2016, he told Hard Talk, BBC, perhaps the only time this party is going to wake up is when they lose power. I think we're now on the eve of that moment.